the focus of Daniel chapter 7 becomes that fourth kingdom, which is Rome. So he says, I kept looking, and that horn was waging war with the saints, which means believers, and overpowering them, until the Ancient of Days came, and judgment was passed in favor of the saints, the highest one, and the time arrived when the saints took possession of the kingdom. Now he goes to interpretation. The interpreting angel talking to Daniel, giving him this revelation. He says in verse 23, Thus he said, the fourth beast will be a fourth kingdom on the earth, which will be different from all the other kingdoms. And it will devour the whole earth and tread it down and crush it. So that was the Roman Empire phase one. It crushed all of those that stood before it. You cannot go around the Mediterranean up into Europe, into even the northern climes, all over the Middle East, Asia Minor, which is Turkey, into England, even Hadrian's Wall that divides England from Scotland. Those are all testimonies to the greatness and the extended power of Rome. And yet, they disintegrated. And it's important to realize that as Babylon was conquered by mighty military power, Media-Persia was conquered by the mighty military might of Alexander. The Greek Empire, the remnants of it, was conquered by Rome. But no one ever conquered Rome. It just kind of disintegrated from within through the disintegration of character. And the scripture indicates that that would happen because it shows there's no power that conquers it. And then we go to verse 24 in Daniel chapter 7. Now this is a critical point to understand. As for the 10 horns, out of this kingdom 10 kings will arise, and another will arise after them. He will be different from the previous ones and will subdue 3 kings. All right, this is a critical verse. Now, Rome phase 1 lasted until around 376 AD, the main part of the Roman Empire, with Rome. That fell from within, and the Vandals just kind of took it over, but they didn't conquer it. The Romans just disintegrated, and they walked in. And yet, Roman power continued in spiritual form. And through the Roman Catholic Church, Rome still ruled over the kings of England almost up until modern times. Now, the important thing is, though, it says in verse 24, as for the 10 horns, out of this kingdom. And the important thing is the preposition out of. In other words, out of the Roman Empire phase 1, the one that disintegrated. In the last days, just before Christ returns, because verse 24 doesn't refer to history, it refers to the future. Because what comes out of this ancient kingdom rises again, and it is the power that is over the world when the antichrist rises out of it, and it is destroyed this time by the second coming of Christ. So, how are we to interpret this? Well, there has to be a colossal parenthesis in history between verse 23 and verse 24. The Roman Empire phase 1, it was gone as far as a political military power in 376 AD. The culture continued. There was a spiritual force that was part of the old Roman Empire that continued. But as a political military power, it ceased to exist. However, it says there are 10 horns that represent a power that would rise in the days just before the return of Christ. And they would be out of Roman Empire phase 1. So verse 24 leaps over a big period of history and predicts that out of the former kingdom would arise 10 kings who will join together, and then there will be another king that will arise after them, and he will be different from the previous ones, and he will subdue 3 kings. 3 kings from within the 10. Apparently, there would be 7 that would go along with him to unite into a revived Roman Empire in its final great form. But there would be 3 that would object, and he would just overthrow them. But it is this 11th king that is the Antichrist. And from where does he rise? Out of the old culture and people. Now, I believe that this person's alive right now. He's somewhere in Europe. Now, there's some who believe, well, the Muslims are so powerful right now that it's got to be a Muslim that's going to come and rise out of this kingdom, and he's going to be the one that becomes the Antichrist. Well, there's some who believe that, and they're good men. They're good Christian men, and I respect them. But I don't believe that's true. This is overlooking the fact that Scripture prophecy indicates that within this world power that would be ruled by the Antichrist through these 10 nations that confederate together to form the basis of rule for the world, one world government, within that there would be 3 more discernible powers. And one is outlined in both Ezekiel chapter 38, 39, says that this power would come from the extreme north. And that means the extreme north of Israel. It tells us when this would happen. It happens in the last days when the Israelites are brought back from a worldwide dispersion and made a nation again. And since 1948, that's us. And so it would be at that time that a power to their extreme north would rise and ultimately become their formidable enemy. He will lead a great force confederated with people that Persia will bring in. It says Persia will gather together a force, and you look at all those tribal names that are the peoples today in various nations, and they are Muslims today. So there would be a force that would confederate under Persia or Iran's control and join with this power from the extreme north. Now, 3 times it says that this power would come from the extreme north. These who believe that the king of the north is still basically a Muslim power need to look at that word, because it means extreme north, not the southern borders of Russia that were part of the old Soviet Union. And it even names their forefathers, which were part of the ancient peoples that were feared far and wide. Magog, Meshach, and Tubal became basically known as the mighty tribes of the Scythians. And the Scythians became the primary progenitors of the modern Russian people. So you take the time factors today, you take the geological clue that's given us, extreme north, not just halfway, but a people known for being the kings of the extreme north. There's no other power to the extreme north of Israel but Russia. They will lead and arm the powers that join with them, particularly those that confederate under the control of Iran. And they will become part of this king of the north from the extreme north force that's going to come against Israel in the last days.